최고領導자 김정은 동지께서 싱가포르 공화국 수상을 접견하셨습니다.
My name is Joy, and I'm from North Korea. I escaped to China when I was 18 but was immediately trafficked and sold as a bride to a Chinese man for $3,000. Life was difficult, but I gave birth to a daughter who became the joy of my life. After 2 years, I was offered an opportunity to escape finally. I reached freedom through a 3,000-mile rescue route that brought me to Southeast Asia, and from there, I flew to South Korea. Because the journey out of China is incredibly dangerous for North Koreans, I had to leave my daughter behind. I now live in South Korea, and I am studying social work to help North Korean women who have also been trafficked. I hope to bring my daughter to South Korea to live with me one day. Liberty in North Korea is an international NGO dedicated to supporting the North Korean people. The link brings North Korean refugees through a 3,000-mile, modern-day, underground railroad to freedom and safety. To date, they have rescued more than 700 North Korean refugees. These refugees drive change inside the country by sending money and outside information back to friends and family. The link also works to change the narrative on North Korea by producing documentaries, hosting events, and engaging with the international media to bring more focus to the North Korean people and the bottom-up changes they are driving in their country. The vision of Link is a free North Korea in our lifetimes. Ask me anything.
How was your original escape to China orchestrated? Did your family help? And if not, how did you plan it as an 18-year-old with restricted contact with the outside world? You are incredibly brave, and your work now to become a social worker shows your nobility and goodness as well. I wish you and your daughter the best.
My stepmother wanted me to marry, so I would not be her responsibility anymore. I heard rumors that I could escape to China and be adopted by an older Chinese couple and live a happy life there. My stepmother knew a broker who convinced me to go to China. The broker guided me to the Tumen River and told me when and where to cross. When I was picked up on the other side, the broker told me to pay for my escape or be sold as a bride. I had no money and was terrified of being arrested by the Chinese police. I felt so trapped.
Was there a certain event that happened in your life in North Korea that made you decide you wanted to escape?
My stepmother wanted me to get married, and I wasn't ready. I was only 18 and needed to find a way to make money to provide for myself. I thought I could go to China and find a well-paying job.
What was the part of the day you looked forward to most when you lived in North Korea?
Whenever I had something delicious to eat, I really looked forward to preparing the food and enjoying it with my family.
What kind of stuff do they teach in North Korean schools about Western civilization?
I did not spend much time in school because of how difficult life was for us. The Great Famine left us without food, and we needed to work on the farms instead of going to school. I remember textbooks always portrayed America as a terrible place and Americans as evil. We were told that the South and North could not reunite because America wanted to keep our countries separated to weaken us.
How does the Korean spoken in the South differ from the North?
Because the North Korean government is so militaristic, the language is very direct and authoritative. South Koreans are more passive in the way they use Korean. Also, in South Korea, they borrow so many English words, and it was hard to learn all these new Korean words.
What is a funeral ceremony like in North Korea for the average citizen?
Where I lived, people were buried after 3 days in a small coffin. No one I knew was ever cremated. I once heard about a North Korean grandmother who was scheduled to be buried but woke up and scared everyone in the village when they realized she was still alive.
What kind of stigmas do you face in South Korea as a North Korean? How difficult is it for you to come out as a North Korean?
I face the most discrimination when I apply for jobs in South Korea. When I have an interview, the South Korean employer can usually tell I have a North Korean accent. They will then tell me they do not hire North Koreans and end the interview right then. That happens about 7 out of 10 interviews.
I lived in South Korea for a while, and when I would talk to the locals, they all held an opinion not of disdain for North Korea, but more like regret. They seem to all wish very much for a peaceful reunification of the two nations. My question is this: all the news of North Korea is almost inconceivably dreadful. Well, I'm sure there is much misery in the country. Can you tell us a story of a time when you or your family were genuinely happy? What sort of things bring joy to the average North Korean?
My fondest memories from North Korea revolve around my family. Every day when my mom would come home, she would give me a big hug, and I loved that. I also have great memories of family talent shows where we would sing karaoke late into the night.
Hello, Joy and Sarah. This is John from LA. I did your hair for the fundraiser last month. I just wanted to ask how you can get your daughter out of China so she can come live with you.
Hi John. Thanks again for the great hairstyle. I can get my daughter if the man's family will allow me to take her. It will be difficult right now to bring her to South Korea because they want to keep her. I also want to finish university so I can get a job which will allow me to provide for her if she comes to South Korea.
Hi, your story sounds horrific and harrowing. I'm glad you're okay. I hope your daughter can be delivered to you safely. What is North Korea like? Is it anything like the news stories we see on the television? Is it better or worse? Are there any myths about North Korea that are spread by the Western media? I'm guessing you didn't like it, hence the defection. How likely is it you will see your daughter soon, and how will you be able to get her back? What action can be taken to help stop human sex trafficking? I'd like to help if I can, but I don't know how much use I'd be.
Good questions. There is so much focus in the Western media about North Korea's military and nuclear weapons. There is rarely any stories about average North Koreans, especially those that live outside the capital Pyongyang. Most North Koreans are ordinary people that want to live peaceful lives, but the media makes it look like every North Korean wants to destroy America or South Korea. Everything in the underground broker networks revolves around money. North Korean women that cannot afford to cross the border are told it is free to cross. And then when they cannot pay on the other side, they are sold instead. That was my experience. If you want to get involved in helping North Korean women avoid sex trafficking, you should fund rescues through organizations like Link. The safest way a woman can avoid being trafficked is to have her rescue paid for before she leaves the country. Then when she crosses, she can enter a safe network that can move her out of China before she is exploited.
Thanks so much for sharing your experiences, and thanks to Ian and Sarah for being a part of such a great organization. How has your experience in New York City been so far? How does it compare to the culture in which you were raised?
I am happy to share. New York City is so bright at night. There are so many lights. The buildings are so tall here. I also love the diversity here. There are people from all over the world on every street. In North Korea, I never saw someone from another country.
I have interviewed many North Koreans now settled in the UK. Many of them told me they had been caught by the Chinese police and repatriated to the north a number of times, but managed to escape again. Can you explain why they didn't face harsh consequences for escaping in North Korea?
It all depends on where they were caught and the circumstances around their arrest in China. If they are caught close to the border with China, it is easier to convince the North Korean authorities that they were in China for economic reasons and intended to come back. If they are caught closer to the border with Southeast Asia, it is obvious they were trying to defect, and that can carry much harsher consequences. If it is discovered that a North Korean had contact with a South Korean or Christians anywhere in China, that can also increase the chances of facing much harsher punishments. The North Korean government is also incredibly corrupt, and bribes from family members to local officials can have an impact on one's sentencing.
Do you expect to see the current regime in North Korea fall within your lifetime?
I am not sure. If I am lucky, I have another 60 years of life, so maybe by the end of my life, I will have the chance to go back to see my hometown.
I've seen photos of average people in North Korea. Only the children seem ever to smile. Is this cultural, or is it due to the awful life adults must face each day?
It is not cultural. I think young North Korean children are not really aware of how difficult life is. But I know plenty of adults that smile too.